Hey everybody, Tom Berry with Tom Berry REI and Texas Pride Processing. So as you know, the Tom Berry REI brand is basically our marketing brand, but underneath that, we dabble in a lot of different things. So one of the things that we bought back in 2022 January is a meat processing plant. And I have had so many requests for information like, hey, how's that going? What's going on? What are you doing with it? What made you get into that? So I thought I'd do a real quick video here, and then I'm going to follow up this video with a chronological accounting of what we're doing with the plant. So this came into effect, probably 2 years ago. On our ranch in Central Texas, we had some steers. We wanted to get them processed so that we could eat the meat that we raise on our own ranch, right? And everybody would assume that most ranchers do that. As we found out, most don't. And here's why. When I went to the local processor to get what's called a kill date, to get a processing date for our steers, they told us that they were booked a year out. So we called a couple of others, and guess what? They were all booked a year and a half out. And I'm like, this is craziness. So I started doing some research, like I always do with things when I'm perplexed about something. And I found out that 85% of the beef consumed in the United States is processed by 4 companies. 4 companies. One of those companies is a Chinese company. The other is a Brazilian company. The other 2 are U.S. owned. Most beef that is consumed in the United States does not come off of a ranch like ours. It is mass produced in feedlots. Now, if you're not familiar with ranching and farming, you might not understand what a feedlot is, but if you ever drive through Nebraska or Kansas, you'll see them. Dodge City, Kansas is a great place to see a feedlot. Several places through Nebraska. A feedlot is just a massive area with a bunch of cattle in it, and there isn't a blade of grass to be seen. It's mud and manure. That's it. Acres and acres and acres of mud and manure. And that's a feedlot. Those animals don't eat anything except what is put in the feed trough for them. And that's where your beef comes from, the bulk of it. That's where 85% of it comes from. Now, my animals, in contrast, have acres and acres of grass, and they're just out there grazing and having a good old time, and the calves are chasing each other and playing in the field. They don't have to stand in mud. They don't have to stand in their own manure. They are happy, happy, happy cattle. And I think that makes a difference. I think the way a cow is raised can be tasted in the meat. I also know what I'm putting in my cows. I'm putting grass in my cows. That's it. We might finish them with a little grain, but they don't ever get vaccines. They don't ever get hormone shots. They don't ever get antibiotics. They don't ever get any of that stuff. They're just natural cows. That's it. Just plain and simple. So I want myself and my family to eat that kind of meat, not the meat that we buy that is mass produced, the feedlot method. So I did a lot of research, and I started making offers on meat plants because I felt that if I could get one close to our ranch, first of all, we'd always have the opportunity for a kill date whenever we wanted because we'd own the place, right? And then if anything ever happened, like it did with COVID, where the major manufacturers had to shut down because of COVID, and there were meat shortages in the grocery stores, my family would never be without meat. You know, we'd be fine. My friends and family would always have plenty of fresh beef. And so from a security standpoint, we felt it was a good way to go. I started doing the math on it, started doing pro formas on it, and I found that if it were done right, it could also make money. It could be profitable, but it couldn't be profitable in a small way. You had to hit a certain threshold of head per day before it really made sense from a profit standpoint. Now, there's a lot of little tiny ma and pa operations out there, 3,000 to 4,000 square foot operations. They do a couple head a day, and it's enough to feed one family. If that's all you do and you work that as your job, it can provide somebody a good living. But you're never gonna be able to make really good money off of that type of a deal. So we made an offer on a plant. Well, I didn't even make an offer. I asked if it was for sale because I'd heard it was, and found out I was a couple of months behind on it, and it had already sold. But the new owner was really cool and showed me around his plant. He taught me a lot while I was there. And so I continued to look, and I found another one about 15 miles from our ranch. And it was a much larger plant, about 7,000 square foot, but they weren't using over half the plant. It was in horrible shape, horrible disrepair. The equipment all needed replaced. They were just baler twine and duct tape and things together. It was not literally, but figuratively. It was just a disaster. And we whittled and whittled and whittled on the price until we got them down to a price that we felt made sense. It had good bones, but that's all it had. And we knew that we would have to go in and completely strip the thing out and completely renovate it. But it gave us the opportunity to do it with production in mind. The way it was configured, you couldn't really get much production out of it. So it also, the floor plan was in such that it had building 1 and building 2, and then a little, like a carport between them. It gave us the opportunity to rip that out and box in the space between, and then add on to the back, so we can add another 3,000 to 4,000 square foot. When we end up with the whole renovation, we'll be right at an 11,000 square foot plant. And it is also going to allow us to reconfigure the floor plan to go from one line, meaning one kill floor and one processing line, to we'll have 2 kill floors and we'll have 4 processing lines. And one of those kill lines and processing lines will be nothing but wild game and exotics. So we won't be running them on the same line as the cattle like they used to do. So it's going to provide us a lot of opportunity for growth. And we think that we can take the plant from a 1 to 3 head a day to a 20 head a day plant. And this is going to be a year to year and a half project, but the pro forma looks good. We know the market is there. Word is already traveling. It's in a tiny, tiny town called Jewett, Texas, and it's cattle country. Everybody knows everybody. Word is traveling. People are showing up just wanting to see what we're doing. And we've got everybody that's anybody, whether it's the bankers in town or the city politicians. They all want to see this thing succeed. So we think we've got a really, really strong opportunity to build a real good business out of it. So in my follow-up videos, you'll see me doing some tours of the plant. We'll do them every 2 to 3 week interval, and I'll walk through the plant and show you what we're doing to it, and why we're doing it, and so forth. And we have been shut down now for about 6 weeks. We'll be down for another 3 before we reopen. But we actually ran the plant as is for a couple of months, just so we got a feel for the business. We got a feel for what we wish was different. Man, when we redo it, we're going to do this different, or boy, if we had this, that'd be nice. And we got a lot of those ideas in that first 2 months. We also were able to increase production with what we had, to the point where we broke even literally with everything as is. So we know that there's opportunity here. We tested it, and now we can't wait to get reopened here in the next 3 weeks. And as you see these follow-up videos, you'll see the progress in the demolition to the renovation, ripping out the coolers that were in there, building this massive cooler in place of 3 little coolers. building a track and rail system so that we can get fast production out of it. So hopefully you'll enjoy it, and it's a little different than watching houses being rehabbed or other types of things that you see on a normal basis, but I thought it was unique enough that it might be interesting to you. So hopefully you enjoy it. Until the next time, take care.